Nigeria, a vibrant tapestry of places, people, stories, struggles, and unshakable spirits. Politicians make promises, but who really holds them accountable? I'm Tony Kobara, and this isn't just about politics. This is about us. This is where we confront the hard truths that few say publicly. Hello everyone, welcome to Nigeria Unfiltered. Well, there's been so much tension in the country for the past few days as people obsessively discuss in person, face-to-face, on the phone, online, President Donald Trump's threat to militarily intervene in Nigeria with a view to protecting Christians who are under attack from Muslims in the north. Okay, so Trump is a very melodramatic kind of person, and he uses words like vicious, sweet, fast to describe how he's going to react to this challenge in Nigeria. But I think a lot of people are offended or even frightened that America is going to invade this country. I am pretty sure that is not going to happen, because even if Trump feels like playing soldiers around here, I don't think he'll be allowed to go that far. Okay? However, much as I have never been a fan of Donald Trump, I have to say that I think his statement has been very useful, because it's a wake-up call to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Vice President Shettima, National Security Advisor Mallam Nuhu, and the service chiefs. It's a reminder that a security crisis that has been brewing in this country for years and costing lives and has never been properly addressed by the authorities. It's a reminder that it's time to do something, unless you want to be totally humiliated on the world stage. I mean, right now, if you're the Minister of Defense or the Chief of Army Staff or whatever, you can't be feeling good about the fact that the work you do is so ineffective that people on the other side of the globe are pointing at you and telling you that you're a disgrace and a failure. So these are men of some substance if they want to be. I mean, they're not stupid. And I think, it's good that somebody is kicking them up the backside and saying, this is unacceptable. Some of us have been saying this for years, but they don't listen to us. But they will listen to Donald Trump. Okay? So, now, so much has been said about this issue of Christians dying in the north and the fact that Muslims are also dying in the north. And I don't really want to repeat what several other perfectly intelligent commentators have been saying for the past few days. I mean, almost every journalist, every analyst, every consultant, every human rights activist has had something to say about this. And I've read so many compelling accounts and opinions on this matter. So, I don't think I can really add that much. I mean, I'm still plowing my way through some really good articles written by people who have different views. And one of the main areas of disagreement, one of the main bones of contention, is the use of the word genocide around this nightmare that's going on in the north of this country. Everybody, whether they are pro-government or anti-government, whether they are Muslim or Christian, agrees that Christians are being killed in the north. But there's this big disagreement about whether you can describe what is happening as a genocide. Now, I have been very confused about this issue myself. I'm very unsure about what to think, because some very respectable people are saying that there's definitely a genocidal aspect to this whole thing, while others are saying no, genocide is an exaggeration. Now, I personally have been to Auschwitz concentration camp in Poland, where millions of Jews were gassed to death by the German Nazis during the Second World War. I have been to the Holocaust Memorial in Israel. It's called Yad Vashem. I have also been to the Holocaust Memorial in Rwanda, where Tutsis and Hutus were at each other's throats, and just the death toll was terrible. So because I have actually personally experienced Holocaust memorials and have seen nothing like that here, and quite frankly have very limited exposure to northern Nigeria, I was tending towards saying that it's probably an exaggeration. And I say that without meaning to insult or diminish the people who have lost their lives and lost their relatives. And then a senior ambassador advised me to go and check out a document called The 10 Stages of Genocide. Now, if you're interested, it can be found on Google. It can also be found on the website of an organization called Genocide Watch, 10 Stages of Genocide. Now, the ambassador who told me to go and check it out doesn't think that what we're going through here is extreme enough to warrant that description. Like I said, I was veering in that direction myself, and I've hinted as much in a couple of videos that I've done recently, right here on Donu's World on my YouTube channel. And then, today I spoke to a very, very compelling and impressive woman called Professor Funmi Para-Mallam. She's an Ondo woman who is married to a man from Kaduna, a Christian. They're both Christians. And she's lived in Plateau State for 41 years. I got to tell you, the first thing I asked her is, what do you think about this genocide theory? She says, I absolutely believe in it. She absolutely buys into it. So I said, why? Have you seen the 10 Stages of Genocide document? Because I've seen it and I wasn't sure it was applicable. Professor Para-Mallam said that she was very familiar with this document, which, by the way, is an academic tool and policy model that was created by a gentleman called Gregory Stanton in order to explain how genocides occur and how to prevent them. Okay? So professor told me that she gave me about 7 or 8 really persuasive arguments backed by evidence based on studies that she had personally done or sponsored, and on eyewitness accounts of people she had interviewed, which in her mind proved conclusively that there is definitely a religious element when Muslim terrorists attack Christian individuals and communities in northern Nigeria. Because, there's an alternative view, which is that, yeah, there's a lot of killing going on. Muslims get killed as well by Muslim terrorists. And then there's a lot of issues around resource control and poverty. And she says all those things are true as well. And I guess I always say this, 2 things can be true at the same time. And in fact, I'm so impressed by what this lady said to me. It's so unforgettable. I would like to interview her on camera sometime so that you can hear for yourself what she has to say. It's chilling. For example, she told me about an in-depth study she and her husband and others did into an incident that took place in Jos on the 17th of January 2010. Plateau was under attack, and a document with that title, Plateau Under Attack, was produced. It's full of eyewitness accounts, and it speaks about a well-orchestrated, planned, premeditated attack on Christians in Plateau State by people who were religiously motivated. Another one, study. I'm telling you this because these studies are online. You can go and read them yourself. A critical investigation into the role of security agents in the just conflict is another report that you can look for. And this is, again, in-depth qualitative and quantitative research that Professor Para-Mallam says makes it clear that there was complicity and collusion from some elements, Muslim elements, in the Nigerian army who, without any, unrepentantly sided with Muslim attackers of Christian communities. And that time, Goodluck Jonathan was president, and I'm going to have to write an article about this because a short YouTube video is not the right place to discuss some of these things. I was also told about Muslim attackers chanting religious slogans, taunting their victims while they were being raped or killed. And she personally, the professor, has seen a video of a Christian man, arms tied behind his back, face down, having his neck cut, while the person who was doing it made it clear that he regarded him as infidel scum. I mean, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know the exact words that were used. She says she hasn't been able to get that image out of her mind. So, there was a lot of, she told me a lot about land grabbing by Fulanis and displacement of indigenous groups. She talked about over 60 communities in Plateau State who have been uprooted and dumped and displaced in IDP camps. And if they try to return to their farms and villages, they get raped or hacked down. Many of them claim that as they were being raped or as they watched loved ones being killed, that the people who were doing it were very systematically taunting them with Islamic threats and we will finish you Christians and that kind of hate speech, that kind of lethal homicidal talk. Okay, so the jury is still out. For some people, there's absolutely no doubt that there's genocide. And I've got to tell you, I'm beginning to feel the same way. Others still have doubts or just say, no, it's not genocide. I would urge all of us to go and read some of these, original source materials and decide for ourselves. I mean, if a senior ambassador who has access to intelligence reports is telling me that he doesn't think there's a genocide, well, maybe it's true. But sometimes foreigners have their own agenda, and it may not be in their best interest to give the impression that a group that was politically empowered at the time of independence and during colonial rule, if that group is really as bad as some say, the blame falls on the people who made them so important and so powerful. Don't want to be cynical. You can see that I just don't know where I stand, but I kind of believe Professor Para-Mallam. I mean, I know she's not lying. I know she believes what she's saying. I don't think she made up the case studies she told me about. And I agree with her when she says that, all this whataboutism. If you complain about a Christian village being wiped out, somebody will jump up and say, yes, a Muslim village was also wiped out the other day. She says those Muslims who have been killed for different reasons, whereas the Christians are often being killed for religious reasons, not always, of course. And, one thing does not negate the other. People who are psychopaths will attack anybody. And I hear that some of the people who are being attacked, the Muslims who are being attacked in the north, are being attacked for not being extreme enough. They don't believe in all this jihadi assassination crap, and they're being punished for it. So, as Professor Para-Mallam said, this crisis has multiple layers, multiple dimensions, multiple threats. Nobody is saying it's a straight black or white thing. There are lots of shades of gray in between. Ironically, one of the 10 stages of genocide is denial. In fact, that's number 10, where the perpetrators deny that any crimes have been committed, or I suppose they could also deny the motivation of the crimes that have been committed. And the Nigerian government just has to accept responsibility for this whole mess. Not least because it has been accused so many times with this Tinubu regime, and even more so during previous regimes. The government has been accused of being in cahoots with these terrorists. You see people moving around, toting guns, bandits, shouting Allahu Akbar or whatever. And and you hear about people in the military colluding secretly, giving them intelligence information, helping them to escape, not punishing them when they are caught, even allowing them to be unleashed on communities, and then not intervening to stop the bloodshed until the terrorists have finished their work. So, I mean, any government that wants to be liberated from such profoundly disgusting and evil allegations needs to step in, with a big stick. So if Donald Trump is that concerned about us, he should help President Tinubu to solve this problem. Okay, so maybe because I'm a feminist, I somehow related very strongly to Professor Funmi Para-Mallam. She speaks my kind of English, and I liked the fact that she wasn't aggressive in her speech. She didn't speak about Muslims with hatred. I didn't get the impression she dislikes anybody. I just felt she was just telling facts as they were and not twisting anything to suit any narrative. But there are also other people I've spoken to or heard who have had very interesting and worthwhile things to say. For example, a young lecturer at Nasrawa, he's based in Lafia, in the university, and he told me some really interesting stuff about the history of this conflict. He's of the opinion that the people who are committing these crimes against Christians in the Middle Belt and the North generally are in fact just following a kind of conquistador script that was started when Usman Danfodio launched his jihad in 1804. Whether they agree with him or not, it was fascinating listening to him. I've heard I'm a Catholic myself, I've heard the Catholic bishop of, I think his name is Anabwe, of Makurdi, Benue State. I saw him giving evidence at some American Congress type of panel. Meanwhile, there are Christians like the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese, Bishop Kuka Matthew, who say that there's no genocide. And, in a debate involving people of such stature, you have to be respectful to the views of both sides. And I don't know if this difference in opinion will ever be resolved. But, as some commentators have said, doesn't matter whether it's a genocide or not. Thousands of people are dying. So let's just focus on that and do the needful. Thank you.